Carl Sagan could not have predicted this back then.
Here we go.
Ready?
God is good. He's alive. Go get our boy. One American behind enemy lines.
God is good, Sam.
Surrounded. We bring him home.
Viper 1-2. Hang in there. We're coming. Coming in danger close. Keep your heads down.
Colonel, let's go home.
Package secure. Heading to extract.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Again, the Malaysian flight too was one shot at China saying knock it out.
Why shoot it down though if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
They leave distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Oh, hell yeah. Snapping planes out of the sky. OMG, let's do this, chat. Right off the bat. This is all I've got to say. Oh, baby, let's go, chat. LFG, holy shit. Can you believe it? Vindication is on the horizon. I can smell it. I can smell it. Lulu doesn't want any more vindication. She's had enough. Holy shit, chat. I couldn't be more happy to say I was wrong about something. I was wrong about something, guys. I said they used simple Gorgon stare. They used aerial drone surveillance with AI to find the missing pilot. Hero rescue operation success. And I was wrong. Wrong. It turns out they used something even more incredible. And when I heard about it and looked into it, I had to do a double take. I had to go, wait a minute. Are they giving us disclosure right now? Are we getting a little morsel of disclosure? Well, let's go and find out right now. Let's go back to the tape on Monday that we played that now deserves another look. Here we go. The brand new reporting. Colin Rugg, friend of the show, maybe. The CIA used a secret tool called Ghost Murmur that uses AI to find heartbeats to rescue the U.S. airman who is stranded in Iran, according to the New York Post. Secret technology was used for the first time in the field. Chat. It was used for the first time in the field. Much like how we're seeing fusion propulsion for the first time right now as well. It's like hearing a voice in the stadium, except for the stadium's 1,000 square miles of desert. So right off the bat, you can say this is pretty interesting. Advances in a field known as quantum magnometry, or magnetometry, however you can say that, specifically sensors built around microscopic defects in synthetic diamonds, have apparently made it possible. Well, let's learn a little bit about this. John Radcliffe, tell us more.
As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the president's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge, comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert.
Is he supposed to say all of that? Some people have pointed out, they've said, Ashton, if they are disclosing this, this means it's 20-year-old technology. Yes, it's probably more like 30 or 40-year-old technology. That's why they're disclosing it. This is not brand new technology. No. This is quantum sensing technology that we have discussed repeatedly on the show. And we're going to dedicate this entire show to it. But let's let him finish here.
This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airman, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen.
Okay. He doesn't really talk about the Gorgon, or I keep calling it Gorgon, the ghost Murmur. So here's the article about it. The New York Post, right after this, like Tuesday or Monday night or Tuesday, they come out and they basically say it wasn't just, like I did the whole video saying they used Gorgon's stare with MQ-9 Reapers above to map everything. And they found a few pixels moving. That was what I was telling you guys. New York Post comes out and says, no, it's even more than that. Now, I'm not saying they didn't use Gorgon stare. They definitely still used wide area motion imagery to find the guy, no doubt. They're probably just using that normally now. This goes well beyond it. And it broaches into the area of quantum physics and the technology that we've been revealing that cannot be explained by classical physics. Gorgon here. We're going to call it Gorgon here from now on. New name. Screw Ghost Murmur. Gorgon here. We have Gorgon stare and Gorgon here. Perfect. I love it. Okay. Here's the article. Jeez, New York Post website chat. What is this? Just filled with ads. These people just can't survive if you can see actually something that's information and not an advertisement. Never before tool. Yeah, okay. Screw all that. Where's the details about how it works? So when you consume slop, also known as mainstream media content, you'll notice you have to go through at least 10 advertisements. First of all, you have to go through basically none when you get to my content. Also, the useful information is usually like 8 paragraphs down. So the first 2 paragraphs, you can pretty much just skip. This source and another with knowledge of Lockheed Martin intelligence collection tools told the Post that Ghost Murmur was developed by Skunkworks, the aerospace giant's secretive advanced development division. What? Lockheed Martin is the one that developed The Gorgon here, unbelievable. Okay, actually totally believable. Actually so believable. Now that I'm going, didn't I just do a whole live stream about how we were reviewing Ben Rich's book and had this huge relationship with the CIA and they're just building shit that for them for decades? Surveillance technology specifically. Yeah, we did just do a whole live stream about that. Not even like a week ago. And here you go. Now it's being reported, not only does the CIA have this quantum technology, Lockheed Martin developed it for them. Well, that is very interesting. We know a Lockheed Martin guy. We know the BPTG. I say this in the most affectionate way. The BPTG, Charles Chase, Revolutionary Technologies Division of the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, built them a compact fusion reactor. Also was an expert in electromagnetics. Huh. Interesting. I'm just saying it. I'm not even afraid of being sued because Charles Chase had to have helped them build this ghost murmur thing. Like, no doubt. It's probably well over 10 years old before he retired, and he probably helped them build it. I almost sent him a message after when I saw this to be like, I was going to just not even have anything in the email, just a screenshot of that part, this part right here of the article. Just send that to Charles Chase. No message. He'll get it. Okay, what do they say about how it works? Somewhere in here, they say how it works. Where is it? Jeez. Crazy how much garbage you have to go through here. Here it is. Somewhere in here, it mentions using Josephson junctions and squids for this. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Jeez, man. Can you believe how many ads and pop-ups are coming up when I'm just trying to literally go through this? Unbelievable, man. There's probably only one page worth of information in here. Where is it? It's like finding a needle in the haystack, finding this pilot CIA was unbelievable. Where is the thing, man? I don't know. I probably scrolled past it. Anyway, somewhere in here basically says they use a squid or a Josephson junction. Probably this part about this quantum magnometry here. Let me just go back. So, long story short, they use something called a squid. Man, I'm struggling with this. They use something called a squid that is a quantum device, quantum sensitive device, and the squid is made up of Josephson junctions. Josephson junctions. Now, a Josephson junction, instead of me explaining it, I'll just have old Ashton explain it because I've talked about these devices many times in the past. Meanwhile, I'll find a source for you. Here you go. Wait, where is my clip? Oh, I know why I can't find the clip. Because it's posted on my Twitter. My bad, chat. Okay. There it is. Dun, dun, dun. So I went back when this came out, and the first thing I did was I went back through my old videos, and I found this clip of myself talking about quantum sensing. And if you ask Grok about it, you'll see that we've spoken about it many times. And this was one of the better clips because it explains the physics behind it. Now, keep in mind, as I've said, I'm not a classically trained physicist. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I don't have a PhD and was able to learn this and one up all of these people. So this is just my explanation. But what I will do is I will support it after this with evidence from real, actual physicists and engineers that, of course, are not on the show because, you know, they can't talk about this stuff publicly. But we've got clips of them. So here we go. So then quantum sensing is basically just picking up perturbations in the ether, which we would refer to as gravitational ripples. like the ripples on the ocean of the energy. We don't see them, but they're there. And they can be detected with the right configurations, which would be a Josephson junction. So if you're not familiar with what a Josephson junction is, I've been yelling this out now, and you're probably wondering, what is this, Ashton? Superconductor? I used to say semiconductor. Let's just be real. Superconductor, insulator, superconductor. So the analogy is straightforward. You've got a freaking highway, a rapid speed train. Let's just say your train is a magnetic levitation train moving at Mach 3. And I got a wall right here, brick wall right here. You'd imagine nothing's getting through this wall. Boom. That's where quantum mechanics takes over. Quantum mechanics says, that's a wall? Nope. I'm going right through that bad boy. Quantum mechanics shows that some electrons, it appears as though they go through it. Now, how is this possible? How can parts of the train get through the wall? The answer is they're not. The electrons aren't going through the wall. What is actually happening? The ether itself is being disturbed. And when the ether itself is being disturbed, you are seeing a perturbation on the other side of the wall. Just like you would, because it's a wave. So, what's the answer? What's the problem and what's the answer? Number one, the problem is thusly, the magnetic field of anything, including your heart or any object, falls off exponentially as distance increases. So any electromagnetic field that might be coming off of you becomes vanishingly difficult or almost impossible to detect. So these devices, these kind of quantum sensing devices are known to exist. The problem is a sensitivity problem. Can we detect something that faint? And if so, how? How are we detecting it? Because that electromagnetic field is far too weak to even go several feet from being sensed by one of these devices, let alone possibly being able to be detected from miles away. So the cheat is the same answer that we've been looking at for quantum entanglement, the ether. Well, how does quantum entanglement work? How can two things that are separated by an extreme distance, how can one thing interact with the other? What connects these two things? Critics would say, well, it's the topology. What topology? There's nothing between them. Well, the systems are interconnected. How? Quantumly. By what? There has to be something connecting them. And if we realize that everything is actually connected through this idea of this extra dimension, this ether, then we have no problem understanding how we can detect a faint signal far away. You say, Ashton, how would that work? Explain that to me logically. Perfect. That's what I wanted to do. Here we go. I think it works the same way the thermopewter guys thing works. The thermopewter guys, they're like, you know what? We're going to random sample the ambient temperature. And we're going to look for slight variations in that. We're sampling just generic space-time. And from that, we're able to determine signals. We're able to pass information from random sampling, almost passive sampling. So if we have an ether, now even a very faint signal is going to leave a trace in that ether, leave some sort of divot, even if that divot is very slight. But then there's another problem. You say, okay, we've got these faint signals that are being emitted from me right now, from Lulu over here, from you guys super far away. How do you know what my signal is? How do you know Ashton versus a squirrel or a dog? So not only do you have a problem of actually the sensitivity of your apparatus, but you now also have to be able to differentiate between a super tiny faint beep that is basically no different than the background noise and some other faint beep that's also no different than the background noise. How in the hell would you figure that out? That seems impossible to a reasonable person. You would say there's no way. That's completely impossible. In fact, a lot of reasonable people, including Sabine Hassenfelder, are on social media saying, I'm a physicist and this is impossible. I am a not reasonable person. They would say, here's all the reasons why you would never be able to do that. I'm an unreasonable person. I bend the world to my will. And I say, here's the reasons we can do it. We can differentiate a human heartbeat miles away from a squirrel, where neither of them is basically even registers above the background ambient electromagnetic energy. How? They told us, guys, just listen. When they report and they tell you what they're doing, listen. Who in the chat knows how they're able to do it? How are they able to take a faint signal and find it and differentiate it from the other faint signals? Anyone? Artificial intelligence, AI, the same thing that they apply to Gorgon stare. Humans aren't able to figure that out. AI is. AI is looking at thousands, millions of maps of samples of space-time, of the temperature, using these tiny quantum sensors, Joseph's injunctions, or even things beyond them. And the AI is looking at them, and it can pick out something that a human would never be able to differentiate from. And the AI can go, I have an 89% probability that this tiny deviation here is a human heartbeat. That's the guy you're looking for. Imagine the precision required to pull that off. I'm here to tell you they can do that. They have figured that out. That is one of the secrets of the MH370 videos. One of the secrets of the MH370 videos is the level of quantum precision sensing they have is decades beyond what we're aware of. Their quantum computing capability is also decades beyond what we're capable of. And you say, what are they doing with it? This is what they're doing with it. They're doing atomic precision calculation. Super complex, quadratic, whatever, calculus calculations they got to pull off. So here's a little bit more information I was able to pull up about this. If you want to get real scientific deep into it, it's a little beyond where I give a shit about, but here you go. So actually, it turns out not only the best superconducting devices are squids, like I pointed out, for magnometer. I'm never going to be able to pronounce this word. Magnetometer. Nope. They can pick up a Hertz magnetic field, but they require cryogenic cooling down to near absolute zero. And at this point, these are the devices that the let's say detractors, critics, they would say that these devices can only detect your signature for a few inches, centimeters at best. And they have to operate with terms of electrical interference. Now, keep in mind, the interference is the part where you're trying to differentiate your signal from the background noise. So the answer to that part is AI. Human is never going to be able to differentiate the signal from the noise. The AI can do that quite easily and detect those patterns. Newer generation of sensors, nitrogen vacancy centered diamonds, are real and represent genuine progress. These sensors exploit quantum defects in synthetic diamonds to detect magnetic fields at room temperature. That's what I was looking for. Boom. Yahtzee right there. I was thinking what we need here is something that's going to be room temperature. And it turns out they're making these weird quasi crystals. I still don't even understand it. To me, it's just alien shit at this point. To me, we're knee deep in alien technology at this point. Quasi crystals that are room temperature. Why? Because now you don't need the super cool temperature. So you take your quasi crystal, I'm going to call it, because I just like saying quasi crystal. You take your quasi crystal, room temperature, you hook it up to your AI, and now this shit is detecting every single, life form on planet Earth. It's actually beyond what we were thinking they were doing in Dark Knight. This is actually even scarier. Like, I was afraid this might happen, where the technology starts getting revealed, and it's actually even crazier than the stuff I was saying on podcasts. I was like, hey guys, they have satellites that can, make a video program that you can play back. And I was wrong about that as a drone. But it's actually, the stuff they really have is even way crazier than that. We've got quasi crystals at room temperature that we can just send around like we're a magic witch. Like I'm a warlock. I'm going to have my crystal. I'm going to point it at you. And I'm just going to be able to detect where you're at. It's going to be like a tricorder in Star Trek. Like, hey, just deploy the tricorder. How many life forms do we have down there? Just literally, I think everything in Star Trek is just real at this point. Okay. So the big issue here is, of course, the distance. The distance is the big issue. But the workaround to that is the ether. Now let's listen to our boy Tom Bearden. How is this possible? What are we missing? I'm not here to do the hidden knowledge thing. So here's what you're missing right off the bat. Nikola Tesla was right. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Very specifically, what he was right about was radiant energy. Radiant energy is 0-point energy. We've just been changing the definitions of things. The ether as well is also just 0-point energy. The ether is not a fluid that we're all chilling in, but it is something that we're all chilling in. It's just an invisible energy. It's the thing that gives resistance when we move around. Tesla was right about that. And what this means is that this is how we explain quantum entanglement. We say these things are connected because there's an extra dimension where all points are connected, where what we perceive as distance is not distance at all. In the extra dimension. It's hard for our brains to understand this because we are three-dimensional beings moving through the fourth dimension, time. So the fifth dimension is foreign to us, but we know it's there. The physics proves it's there. And the key word is scalar physics. Here you go. Tom Bearden, take it away. Tom Bearden, absolute GOAT of Black projects. He was revealing this in the 80s, chat. My GOAT. Take it away.
To understand Tesla, you must take seriously, I think, his suggestion that the present electromagnetics model is seriously flawed. Nobody wants to take that seriously. Most of the people who approach Tesla use the conventional electromagnetics, and when they cannot explain what he was talking about, they say, therefore, the man was a kook. Now, suppose for a moment that he really was correct. Suppose there is something wrong with the classical electromagnetics. Of course, you can use the classical model to do the things we do, but it means there are many other things that can be done that we cannot do because we have excluded that part from our model and from our teaching and from our knowledge and from our instruments. If you add back in the wave that is missing, guess what you get? You get equal and opposite waves in the vacuum. These waves are in fact longitudinal waves. They are more sound-like, and Tesla was right, and all the textbooks in the world are wrong. And by gyro theory,
that is one of my favorite clips absolutely ever. Tesla was right. All the textbooks in the world are wrong. It's my favorite clip ever because it's true. It's true, and nobody had any idea. And the first question people say is, how can physics be wrong I've got a cell phone right here. I know physics isn't wrong. I got a cell phone right here. It transmits voice wirelessly. Physics is definitely right. But is it? This is the secret. It's not that physics is wrong. One piece is missing. We are literally missing one piece of the physics, the piece that Tesla told us about, the scalar potential, the perturbation in the ether, the longitudinal ripple, just like a sound ripple through the ether, is gravity. Longitudinal ripple through the ether. That's what we are missing. And when we add that missing piece, which was included originally in Maxwell's equations and quaternions included this scalar component. If we bring that back, now suddenly we can control what we call space-time. We can now control gravity. We can now quantum sense anything. Distance is no longer a problem. We can now control quantum entanglement. Think about that. What did I just say? We can control quantum entanglement. Why? Because we've now added another variable to our equations that allows us to account for the extra dimension. Chat, I'm going to drop another truth bomb, truth nuke on you right now. This is one that I drop in the upcoming podcast episode with Matt Bell. Here we go, guys. I don't ever do this, but mid-video shout-out promotional clip. Here we go. Matt Bell podcast is about to drop.
I want to explain to the world what it is that we are hiding that is under this guise of this UFO technology. They have fusion technology. They have fusion propulsion drones flying around. And those fusion propulsion drones represent unlimited green energy for the world. At first, I was like, the missing general, this is weird. And then first thing you do is start digging into who was this guy. He was the commander of the Air Force Research Labs from 2011 to 2013. You've now got Ross Coulthart, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson all saying that this guy was connected to this UFO topic. So if there's anybody in this whole world that's going to know about orbs, advanced technology, that's the guy right there. If this is the general, this is why he disappeared.
Oh boy, that is.
I want to explain to the world what it is.
It's going to be a spicy one, chat. Wow. And did you see at the end there? Did you see the feud, that ion pumpy thing for Ashton? Oh yeah, that gets talked about. Make sure you set your bells. Make sure you get to that one. The reason why I brought that up in relation to Tom Bearden and the ether is I'm going to tell you the secret sauce again. Solving the Schrodinger equation. Solving the waveform. When we open the box, is the cat inside of the box alive or dead? That is the question. Solving the Schrodinger equation is equivalent to saying we know how something is moving through the ether. It's equivalent to saying we can solve quantum entanglement. Solving the Schrodinger equation is saying we can solve quantum entanglement. And Tom Bearden talks about it a lot. I'm going to let him finish this clip because the next part is very important. Tom Bearden says there's evidence to support this. What is the evidence for this extra dimension? Look at gyro precession. He says, when you look at gyro precession, we can tell the only way to explain why this happens is because there must be some extra dimension. Just look at gyro theory. He says, if you disagree, then gyro theory must be thrown out. Here you go. Listen to this. This is my favorite because when
the book, when you longitudinally more sound like, and Tesla was right, and all the textbooks in the world are wrong. And by gyro theory, right out of the book, when you longitudinally disturb a gyro that's restrained, it will precess sideways. And all of our instruments measure and detect the electron precession waves. That's what we put on our oscilloscopes and what we read with our instruments. And yes, indeed, gentlemen, we do detect the electron wiggle waves, and they are transverse waves. But a gyro reacts and precesses at right angle to the actual disturbance, which proves that it is a longitudinal wave in the vacuum. If you do not believe that, you must throw away all gyro theory. Tesla was right. Every textbook in the U.S. is wrong. Maxwell simply assumed out of thin air the transverse string wave because that's what everybody was familiar with when he wrote the first equations, and it's never been changed to this day.
God damn, this is so crazy, chat. The craziest thing, I feel bulletproof. I am who is gonna be the first one? Who is gonna be the sacrificial lamb, chat? I am bloodthirsty. I am ready to absolutely destroy the first physicist that steps into the ring. It's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be extremely brutal. Because no question, this is the answer. This is exactly what they've been hiding. Unification of the forces. Unification of electromagnetism and gravity. Unification of quantum and macro. They've been hiding it. They classified it, and they classified it for national security, and it leads to free energy. It leads to fusion. It leads to everything that we can't figure out. Quantum entanglement, the reason for dark matter, dark energy, all this stuff. Everything. Just boom, just like that. All revealed at once. And you guys, we are definitely sitting in the middle of it. Absolutely right now in the middle of it. There's nothing they can do on it. I can taste the blood in the water like a shark right now. I was so hyped to get on the live stream. I can taste the blood in the water just like I'm playing League of Legends and we're up 10 kills and I'm about to just destroy their base. Get me in there, chat. We're going to farm them in their base while they're respawning. That's where we're at right now. The CIA just gave us a gift. They just gave us a fucking gift. They gave us evidence that their quantum sensing, their Aether technology is real. You've got Sabine Hassenfelder out here humiliating herself. She doesn't even know it yet. Yes, you can use quantum physics to measure the magnetic fields very precisely, but no, you cannot do this over miles of distance. That's insane. That said, infrared radiation is also electromagnetic, of course, and everything is quantum anyway. Okay. Yours sincerely, Quantum Sabine. So she's adding a nice little joke here about how everyone just calls everything quantum, which I actually agree with. Everyone does call everything quantum, but that doesn't mean it's fake. That doesn't mean it's not real. The easiest way to shut these people down, I'll give you guys, the best part is I will arm the peasants, arm the normies with the information you need to take down the queen, Sabine. This is all it takes. The best part is the reason why you know these people are all frauds and jokes. The way to take them down is asking basic, simple questions. They will crumble under simple, basic questions because NPC programming cannot run off the script. So they say, this is all fake. You can't do this. You can't detect information over large distances like this. That's not how the magnetic fields work. And you say, how does quantum entanglement work? And they freeze just like that. Deer in the headlights. You say, sorry, did you hear the question I just asked? How does quantum entanglement work? And then they just completely fall apart because classic physics has no logical explanation for quantum entanglement. You have experimental proof that we absolutely 100% can impact something at a distance farther than the speed of light can travel in that time. We have proof that that happens in the real world. And here you have a physicist saying that that's not possible. That's not how quantum mechanics works. Okay. How does quantum entanglement work then, Sabine? We're waiting. The whole world is waiting, Quantum Sabine. Hey, Quantum Sabine, this is a clip just for you. You claim to be Quantum Sabine. How about you regale us with your knowledge of how quantum entanglement works, since you seem to be the expert, you want to let everybody know on social media. We're all here right now. We're waiting to hear the answer. How does quantum entanglement work? Actually insane that we listen to people as authorities who cannot answer a simple question, a basic question about basic physics. Not even basic questions. Somebody asks me that question, I say, quantum entanglement works because there's an extra dimension of an ether, and therefore all points in space and time are connected. Answer done. Any retorts out there? Holy crap, guys. So what did I do? The very first thing I did when I saw the CIA claim that this was, quantum sensing, after I dug in, found my clips, found that, I said, I know a guy. I said, I know a guy that worked on quantum sensing technology. Chat. If you type these 3 words into Google, what comes up? Hal Puthoff patent. Type those 3 words into Google right now at home. Hal Puthoff patent. Oh, what is the very top hit here? Communication method and apparatus with signals comprising of scalar and vector potentials, not fields, potentials, without electromagnetic fields. Whoa, chat. Look at that. There's a patent right there for doing the thing that's in the ghost technology shit that Sabine thinks is fake. Wait, I thought this was all fake. I thought you couldn't do this, though. But right here it says this guy is detecting stuff without electromagnetic fields at all. No electromagnetic fields. He's able to detect stuff. Huh. Interesting. And when you go through this, what he uses is those same Josephson junctions and squids that we were just talking about a second ago. And he points out this can transmit through seawater. This can go through the ocean. You can detect a submarine with this too. Not just a human heartbeat. And who is this guy? Hal Puthoff. Oh, Hal Puthoff is the godfather of zero-point energy. Hal Puthoff can make like 2 phone calls and probably get you killed. Hal Puthoff worked for the CIA, DIA, probably every spook agency that there is, as far as I can tell. And this patent is from 1993. So I wonder, do you think Hal Puthoff has maybe discussed his patent? Huh. Chat, Ashton Forbes is very good at his research. Don't forget it. Don't ever forget it.
There are some, biological and consciousness-oriented experimenters that are taking a look at this idea that, okay, instead of just saying quantum entanglement, that's how information you can get from here to there, maybe we can actually find out, okay, well, what's the mechanism, though? And so this is a whole new area. It turns out that I developed proof of principle for this sub-rosa quantum communication stuff on a classified contract back in the 90s, actually.
That was me doing a freeze frame. The screen didn't freeze. That was just me doing a freeze frame. I developed sub-quantum technology on a classified project in the 90s. But wait a minute. I'm just staring at your patent. I'm literally staring at your patent right now on my other screen here. And it says you did that quantum communication thing in 1993. And by the way, there was a huge amount of drama about that patent. Everybody was saying that the patent is fake, just like they're saying right now about the ghost murmur thing. They're saying this can't work. This is not, none of this works. This is fake. This is pseudoscience. Well, here he is on Joe Rogan. Let's go back 10 seconds.
For this sub-rosa quantum communication stuff on a classified contract back in the 90s, actually. So I got proof of principle in that situation. However, you say, okay, well, if you got proof of...
Do you guys know what the words proof of principle means? I work in healthcare IT. I work on government contracts, and proof of principle means that shit works. Proof of principle means you did an experiment and you prove that works. That means you made a prototype. Boom. And his patent says right there that you can detect signals in the absence of electromagnetic fields. So Sabine's saying your electromagnetic fields will fall off well before you get to your detector. So therefore, you can't detect anything at a range. Hal Puthoff saying, I can detect things even with no electromagnetic fields because I can just sense the potentials. And the potentials are the real thing, not the fields, the potentials.
Principle, then why aren't we using it? Why isn't it all over the place? Well, it turned out the quantum detectors were very, new kinds of circuitry and nothing ready for prime time. So I put that whole thing on the shelf, let it sit there for a while, and now because
I'm gonna call bullshit. I wish. Can I let me talk to Hal Puthoff one time, dear CIA, dear diary. Dear CIA, just let me talk to Hal Puthoff one time. Let me record it, and I won't release it publicly. Let me just have it in as a recording, and then let me release it in like 20 years. Because there ain't no way in hell that they shelved this technology. Oh, yeah, we did a proof of principle, but then we were like, you know what? We can quantum sense anything on Earth, but we don't want to do that right now. Nah, it's not ready for prime time. Put it back on the shelf. Yeah, guys, if you believe that, then I got a bridge to sell you in the Sahara Desert. No, definitely worked. They definitely had it figured out. And I guarantee part of the reason why this man has so much money is because it works. Because then he sold the patent, sold the ideas, and then gave the quantum communication, quantum sensing technology. Because that technology that he's talking about here, this is not just quantum sensing. This is communication method that you can use out of this. You can use encryption out of this. I mean, this physics opens up whole new avenues. And this is the reason why they hit it. So you say, hey, if this works, why is it not out there everywhere? Because the CIA hides the technology so we don't get it. They actively suppress every avenue of science that gets us there. In fact, there were probably active disinformation campaign that was being run on me initially when I was revealing the MH370 videos, because they have counterintelligence people that are paid to make sure that the public doesn't get near it. Make sure that all the classified projects remain classified and hidden and that the physics doesn't get exposed. Which is why it's so fun to do this, because we're pretty much fighting against the most powerful disinformation apparatus on the planet, which I respect in a way. Anyway, Puthoff continue. So, like I was saying, people say, if this existed, we would all have it. No, because they've been suppressing it and making sure that it doesn't get out there. And then they've been killing people if they have to really make sure. And the people like Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, these other Black Project engineers, Charles Chase, they have so many NDAs, they could probably be legally killed if they revealed it. That may seem dark to you, but that's the kind of shit they write into the NDA. Whether or not it's legally actionable, you don't want to find out. You sign something that says we can literally kill you if you disclose this technology and what we've been doing. You don't even want to test that legality. Guaranteed they're going to get away with it. So that's how they keep it hidden.
As a quantum computing, it turns out a lot of research effort is going to develop cryogenic circuitry near absolute zero to be used in quantum computing. So I said, okay, they got these Josephson junctions working, which is exactly what I want to use for my detection scheme. And so if I find time, I decided to take it off the shelf. So I approached JP and showed him what the potential was, not only in just communications, but maybe it has implications for, biological things or medical things or whatever because of this other work on microtubules. So
I love how he's like, it might have impacts on biological things. Meanwhile, what was the story the CIA just said? CIA comes out and says, we were able to hear his heartbeat with this information. How's that for a biological thing? How's that for, we can basically have the precision sensing of every atom. Think of it this way. My understanding of their capabilities has now moved to another level. We might be able to look at you and have a unique pattern based on your entire atomic structure combined. And that might just be able to be mapped out as a waveform. That's how detailed our quantum precision sensing might be at this point. Because what did I tell you before? I said, in order for us to be able to manage this, be able to figure out and differentiate, to detect these signals, we have to have huge amounts of data processing, precision, etc. That same precision applied in a slightly different way would let you map every atom in the human body, and let you determine this is the overall waveform of this human individual and compare it to another. And no two waveforms would be identical. There would be slight deviations where everybody would be unique. You might be able to assign a pattern indicator ID to every single human on Earth. That's the level of precision we're talking about. Scary stuff. Now, I want to expand on the physics. I already said there's an ether. Tesla was right. Also mentioned no electromagnetic fields. This speaks directly to something called the Aharonov-Bohm effect, another real experiment. The reason why I'm bulletproof on the physics is because I already know what I'm going to reference. Aharonov-Bohm effect. We have the experimental evidence that proves this is all real. Experimental evidence of the ether is the Aharonov-Bohm effect. Let's listen to Hal Puthoff first explain the situation. This is from the same exact, this is actually right before that last clip. Here it is.
Someone you know, John Paul DeGioia, and I are in partnership to explore a new means of communication, quantum communications. And so I'm actually now, at this point, directly involved in a program to examine quantum communications. And so it turns out that whereas ordinary electromagnetic communications, can't get through barriers, metal door or whatever. Well, why is that? It's because the electromagnetic signal, when it gets to the metal door, the electric and magnetic field generate counteracting effects, and so the signal can't get through. So it turned out that some years ago, when I was digging around to try to find out how to explain unusual effects, I dug deeper into electromagnetism down into the quantum levels and recognized that there are some additional quantum processes where you could end up suppressing the electric and magnetic fields, but you would still have a quantum signal, which in principle could get through barriers. And so that would mean, okay, if that's the case, and you could communicate to submarines. So whereas the salt water is sufficiently conductive, then electromagnetic signal can't get down there and communicate. If you are able to pull out the electric and magnetic components, but you still have an underlying quantum aspect to it, you could get through.
That's a good way to explain it. Because honestly, when we're dealing with this quantum stuff, we're dealing with straight up magic. I mean, we are primitive ants that have been handed God level technology, and we're barely able to wrap our brain around it. And so Hal Puthoff saying, look, we got this Aharonov-Bohm effect. Aharonov-Bohm effect proves that you can have action, you can have something occur in the absence of electromagnetic fields. Aharonov-Bohm effect, we shoot an electron past a solenoid. A solenoid is an object that has electromagnetic fields trapped inside of it, in the cylinder of it. So there's no electromagnetic fields on the outside of our cylinder. So imagine a circle. And imagine inside your circle is all your electromagnetic fields, and there's no electromagnetic fields outside of it. We shoot an electron past it. What should happen? Nothing. Nothing should happen. The electromagnetic fields are inside the solenoid. I shoot something past it, and nothing should occur. But when we do the experiment, something happens. When we shoot the electrons past our solenoid, it shifts. It gets pulled a little bit. That should not be possible, but it is. How is that possible? Have a physicist try to explain to you how the Aharonov-Bohm effect is possible. Have them try to explain it without evoking an extra dimension, without evoking 0-point energy. Good luck. So, I think I've got a good clip about the Aharonov-Bohm effect. Let's try. I've got a few different ones. One of these two should be good. Here we go.
And describes the quantum state of a particle, including its position, momentum, and, as Aharonov and Bohm revealed, its phase. When a charged particle like an electron moves through a magnetic field, its wave function acquires a phase shift, a change that doesn't depend on the strength of the magnetic field along its path, but rather on the potential it encloses. The classic experiment demonstrating the Aharonov-Bohm effect involves a beam of electrons split into two paths that encircle a region containing a magnetic field, but not passing through it directly. As the two paths recombine, the phase shift caused by the magnetic potential, even though the electrons never encounter the magnetic field directly, leads to an interference pattern. This pattern, observable and measurable, conclusively demonstrates the effect of the magnetic potential on the electrons. This revelation was profound and controversial, for it suggested that the vacuum of space, previously thought to be empty and inert, could possess a rich structure influenced by potentials. It challenged the notion that physical effects require direct contact with a field, proposing instead that the topology of space itself, shaped by these potentials, could affect physical phenomena.
There it is. That's the thing that everybody is trying to reveal from the physics perspective. That's the thing that makes your UFOs possible. That's the thing that makes your warp drives and your wormholes possible. Honestly, I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. I don't care if it's real or not. It doesn't make any difference to me. I've got a major thing coming up in real job, actually, and I'm really looking forward to completing it. However, they lied about that plane. They did some wormhole shit to that plane. And they based it, it's all based on the science of the Aharonov-Bohm effect, this idea that the potentials are real. And the potentials, we don't even see the potentials. How can something be real that we don't even see? Because there's an extra dimension. That's how the Aharonov-Bohm effect works. That's why, just like was pointed out, another example of a solenoid is a torus, a donut, just like they're doing to MH370. How do I know that's a wormhole? Because they're doing this, the Aharonov-Bohm effect in a different application to MH370. Instead of the electron being phase shifted, they're phase shifting the whole plane. They're phase shifting that whole space-time somewhere else. And what does this imply? I saw a lot of comments about holography. Does this imply the universe is a simulation? I would say no. This is all very real, but it's also probably a simulation, yes. Holography implies what we see is an illusion. We are the illusion. The only real thing is the information. We are information. I know this is absolutely the answer because Charles Chase pretty much confirmed it for me indirectly, as much as he needed to. Everything is touching, everything is interacting with everything else all the time. That's the secret of what's going on. When you're moving, everything is always interacting, everything is always touching. That's why quantum entanglement exists. How are they all touching? They're all touching through this ether, through this extra dimension. That's how the Aharonov-Bohm effect works as well. Let me see what else I got here. Got one more video on the Aharonov-Bohm effect. Let me see, because Veritasium's videos are really good. I don't remember this one.
Starts with a beam of electrons, which is split into two. In the middle of these two beams is a tightly coiled wire known as a solenoid. Now, solenoids have an interesting property. When you run a current through one, it produces a strong magnetic field inside the coil and a very weak field outside the coil. The longer the solenoid, the weaker the field in the surrounding space. For simplicity, Aharonov and Bohm imagined a setup with an ideal, infinitely long solenoid, one where the magnetic field outside the coil is exactly zero. After traveling on opposite sides of the solenoid, the electron beams are redirected back towards each other by the researchers. And here, at this point, they intersect. Now, since electrons behave as waves, the waves from the intersecting beams overlap and produce an interference pattern, bright fringes with gaps in between them. The exact pattern depends on the phase of each of these waves. When the solenoid is off, there is no magnetic field in the region the electrons are traveling through, and there is no magnetic potential. The phase of the electrons changes in the same way across both beams.
So, interference pattern, right? This is pretty clear what they're doing here. If there's nothing in the middle, you have two beams, you split them, come back together, you should expect nothing. But when you turn on the solenoid in the middle, which should have no impact on the beams are nowhere near the solenoid, something happens. How would you explain this experiment without evoking the ether? How do you say this empty space between the solenoid and the beam, something is there that you can't measure that is somehow impacting the beam? How would you explain it? To me, the answer is simple, is gravity. The answer is simple, is the ether. Perturbations in the ether, gravity. That's how that's happening.
Regardless of whether they pass above or below the solenoid. And so you get an interference pattern that looks like this. But when the solenoid is turned on, well, there is still no magnetic field because it's confined entirely within the coil, but there is a magnetic potential. That may sound strange, but remember, the magnetic field is the curl of the magnetic potential. The curl of the potential can be 0 in some region, even when the potential itself is not.
So you want to know the craziest part about this? The part that really bugs me? The direction matters. Like, the magnetic potential curls in a rotation. So this means the direction you spin actually matters. Depending on which way you're looking at the object, it's going to be spinning one way or the other. This is why when you're watching the MH370 videos, it's very hard to tell what direction the orbs are spinning around the plane. But this is also why there's actual literal electromagnetic purpose to why the orbs are spinning around the plane the direction they are. If you're using the right-hand rule in electrical engineering, that's why you get this curl. And that's why the right-hand rule applied to the plane shows us that plane is being teleported, wormholed, railgunned, whatever you want to call it. That plane is being shot backwards. We know because of the right-hand rule in electrical engineering. If the orbs were spinning around the plane in the other direction, it would flip the Aharonov-Bohm effect. It would flip the potential around. It would flip what action is going to be done on the plane. It would be shooting the plane forward instead. So crazy enough, the spin of the orbs around the plane determines the vector, determines the direction. They're aiming the plane. Wild.
And that's exactly what's happening here.
Now, take a closer look at the vector potential. In the space the upper beam passes through, the potential points in the opposite direction as the beam. So here, the phase changes faster. But below the solenoid, it points in the same direction as the beam. So the phase changes slower. If the phase truly depends on the potential alone and not the field, then the phases of the two beams should evolve differently. So as a result, the interference pattern should shift when the solenoid is on versus when it's off.
This is the craziest part to me. Why does this asymmetry exist? You're like, okay, so we turned this thing on and we found that the math means this should happen. Like the math definitely says because of the right-hand rule in electrical engineering, the top beam is being slowed down and the bottom beam is being sped up because the curl at the top pushes against the beam and the curl at the bottom gives the beam a boost. And you look at that and you go, whoa, that's crazy. Because now I'm going to remind you, those red circles are imaginary. They don't really exist. There's nothing really there. There's no electromagnetic field there. How is that happening? Some invisible force is acting upon the laser beams. And we can account for it from electrical engineering, but we can't explain why it's there. It just is there because potentials are real, but we can't measure them. At least there's nothing physically, no electromagnetic field is there. So how can anyone come to you and say, well, you can't possibly sense something from super far away using a Josephson junction or a squid or a quasi-crystal? How can someone say that to you when you can just show them the Aharonov-Bohm effect? You can show them Hal Puthoff's patent. You can show them a clip of Hal Puthoff saying, I developed quantum sensing technology under a deep state contract, or whatever, black project contract in the 90s. You can show them all that. It's all right there. One more clip I'll play of Tom Bearden, then I want to riff for a minute. Because Tom Bearden is explaining how this leads to free energy. One of my favorite clips of Tom Bearden is the 3D dipole. What Tom Bearden is saying is that we can take this ether, this extra dimension, and now you can explain the quantum foam. You can explain the particle, antiparticle pairs. Everything is just being ripped from equilibrium. A dipole is just a non-equilibrium position, a negative and a positive charge being separated. That's all a dipole is. So when Tom Bearden talks about a 3D dipole, he's saying in our reality, our three-dimensional reality, we try to make systems that are closed systems. It works in this box. But if you add an extra dimension, you can make a system that is an open system that includes the energy of that extra dimension. And this now allows over unity systems to go from being classically impossible to being physically undeniable. Here we go.
Does not insist on conserving energy in 3 dimensions. We do because we have a 3-dimensional mind. We like to think in terms of space.
So right off the bat, the first thing people say about free energy is say you're violating the conservation laws. You're violating thermodynamics. First thing Tom Bearden says is nature does not insist on conserving energy in 3 dimensions. We do. We live in 3 dimensions. Therefore, we think every system must be a closed system where all the energy must be efficient. And therefore, no closed system can ever be over 100% efficient. That is just a fact. And I agree. No closed system can ever be over 100% efficient. The answer is we make an open system. Add in the 0-point energy. Assume that we are making a waterfall. We're making a waterfall in a dam. We're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from nothing. We're starting with a system of energy, and we're going to make a dam in that energy. We're going to make a windmill in that energy. That's what we're going to do. That's what Tom Bearden is saying here, and it's a hugely important and significant revelation.
Because observation itself destroys time, and what we look at is spatial. So we like to think the world is made of space, not space-time. However, nature loves to work in 4 dimensions. Her fundamental law is conservation of energy must apply in 4 dimensions. Now, you're not going to beat that one, so never think about that. But there is no law of nature that requires you to come in and say, also it must apply simultaneously in 3 dimensions.
So this is where Tom Bearden comes in and says, but if you add one more dimension, suddenly you can go over unity. Suddenly you're adding another source of energy. You just cheated the rules. And he says, but you're never gonna violate conservation in 4 dimensions. That energy is getting paid back somehow. Somehow that excess energy that you're pulling right now, that energy is coming from somewhere else. You're pulling that from the 4th dimension. You're taking that 0-point energy and you're pulling it from somewhere else, and it's becoming here. And this is why he says, don't think about it. You're going to literally go crazy thinking about where's that energy coming from and how's that energy being paid back. So to prevent you from going crazy, I'll give you one possibility. Imagine that all energy in this world, all matter is energy. This cup is energy as well. Everything that we see comes from a giant ocean of energy. And what you see here, all of everything you see here, is just the tiny droplets that have been separated from that ocean of energy. And eventually, all these droplets, they may stay out here for decades, millions of years, billions of years. But eventually, all these droplets of energy are eventually going to reconnect back with that ocean. What we are is those droplets of energy that have been separated from the ocean temporarily. What that means is that the energy system is like the water cycle. Energy is not created or destroyed. Water is not created or destroyed. You just drink it and then you pee it back out. It goes back in the system and we do it all over again. Same thing with energy. And if that's the case, we can produce free energy, but it's not really free. We're paying for it. Same way where you would say water is free, right? You can drink as much as you want because we're just going to come back out the other side. Same way with energy. So there you go. Don't go crazy thinking about where the free energy is coming from. That's your answer.
If we build some gadget that makes it apply in 3 dimensions, we apply an extra constraint on what nature will give us. Turning that around, we go around building things that insist on having this 3-dimensional exchange of energy. We got to put it in 3 dimensions for whatever we get out and lose some in the middle. So we got a terrible situation all the way. It's called entropic engineering. We always got entropy beating us to death. Never go over unity. Forget it. Lose a lot. We talk about, efficiencies at 30% and so forth for our power systems when we talk about burning the coal and all that stuff. But nature doesn't require you to do that. All you have to do is break a little bit of this 3 symmetry set of chains where you have tied her feet to the floor. Once you break the flow in 3 dimensions, you no longer have to conserve energy in 3 dimensions. The basic conservation of energy is an inflow from 4 dimensions, outflow in 3 dimensions. From the 4th dimension, converted and flowed out into 3. And that one is free. Giant negentropy is free.
The energy is an inflow from the 4th dimension to our 3 dimensions. That's negentropy. That's free. There you go. He's basically saying dark energy is also free energy. How does the universe expand faster than the speed of light? Technically, that's free energy too. He's saying the universe is an energy cycle. And technically, energy that's flowing into us from the 5th dimension is free energy. We don't ask where it comes from because we don't see it. It's not really real to us, but it's there. We can measure it. How crazy is that? And this is why somebody said, this is like the Dirac sea. This is why I love the idea of the Dirac sea. Exactly why I love the idea of the Dirac sea. Because this is definitely what Dirac was visualizing. Dirac was realizing that there's this invisible sea of energy, and everything that we see is coming from that energy. Everything we see is. That's why he probably called it Dirac sea. And that's why he called the electrons the electron holes, because he was thinking of it in terms of pulling that energy out of that sea and making it real, making it manifest into our reality. A couple other thoughts. People used to think that renewable energy was also impossible for the same reasons that they think that 0-point energy is impossible. They would say, well, you can harness solar energy, but it would require as much energy to process it as it would to actually harness it. Therefore, it wouldn't be useful. They say it takes the same amount of energy to harness the solar energy or whatever that it does take to for any other source. So you're like, what's the point? There's no point in doing it then. But then we go and we do it and we realize, oh, we can actually make it efficient enough that it competes with other energy sources. We can make it efficient enough that, it's not as bad as what we thought. We can actually produce useful energy from solar. We find that out. And that's what we're going to find out from 0-point energy. Now, what it means and what it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean energy costs 0 right away. Everybody thinks free energy means your energy is going to be free. No, doesn't mean that. And if you have a magnetic motor or even a fusion reactor, which are probably the 2 main ways to interact with the 0-point energy, magnetism, electromagnetism, and electromagnetism from plasma, you need coefficient of performance significantly high to produce excess energy, because you still have to deal with all the normal engineering too, all the losses from heat. So whatever your energy is, you have to keep in mind your system only has so much efficiency. Do you know the efficiency of those solar panels? Like 30%. 30%. So you have to have a lot of excess energy coming in if you want to start getting over unity. This is why they say that for fusion reactors, they're trying to get to coefficient of performance of 3 or 5. They're basically saying they need the output energy to be 3 to 5 times higher than the input energy, just to be able to get the total system at the end of the day to produce more out than in. That's a lot, guys. That's a big ask. Okay, a couple other things. Changing people's minds. This was something that I saw get thrown around on social media. People say, you're not changing my mind by insulting me. Guys, nobody's mind gets changed in this world. Do you know how many minds get changed in this world? Practically none. One of the first things I thought when I started revealing this, when I started realizing this science, this technology, all this insane shit's real, that I never thought could be real, is I realized, wow, no one is ever going to believe this. No one's ever going to start believing that suddenly teleportation is real. But there are psychological ways you can break those barriers down. And one of those ways is to just attack people with the information, blast them with it. The best way to break down propaganda is to counter signal with true information. Throw it out there. This is why I don't care about being mean to people. I don't care about being rude to people. I want those people to get angry. They should be angry. They should be angry, but they shouldn't be angry at me. They shouldn't be angry at the messenger telling them that they've been getting lied to about physics. They should be getting angry at the government that hid it, that the people that made the decision in some boardroom somewhere that said, the world does not deserve this. They don't deserve to know there's an extra dimension. They don't deserve to know we can just pull energy out of the ether at will whenever we want. Those are the people you should be angry at. And the best thing to make sure this never happens again, because I'm in this for the long game. We're watching the disclosure happen. We were just given a gift that will be extremely hard to. Now they're going to have to be the deniers. The classic physicists are going to have to say, no, the CIA was lying. All this physics and science isn't real. They have to be the conspiracy theorists. Now we can say, nope, the government admitted this is real. Government admitted directed energy weapons are real. You're the conspiracy theorist that doesn't understand physics. The best way to make sure this doesn't ever happen again is to be huge dicks to these people right now. They don't want to acknowledge me. They don't want to acknowledge us. They don't want to get in the ring and debate with us. Then we are going to fucking hammer them on social media. We're going to hammer them on social media. We're going to humiliate them and embarrass them on social media until they do. Our paths will cross even if it's forced. And the longer they wait to engage in with our community, the more credibility they will lose in the long run, the more they will be disgraced and humiliated in the long run. Because the way you make sure this never happens again is you humiliate every single phony expert that had no idea that it was going on. Everyone that missed this secret was being hidden on their watch. Every science communicator, everybody on planet Earth that calls themselves a physicist that didn't realize the government already solved unification and was building fusion reactors flying around in the sky, those people should never be listened to ever again. That's how we make sure this shit never happens again. Absolutely humiliate every single person who couldn't tell that it was real, humiliate every single person who didn't know how physics worked, especially the ones that arrogantly made videos claiming that they were smarter than everybody else, that everybody else's work was bullshit, not real, and pseudoscience. Those people get 10 times the dose. That's how we'll make sure that the CIA can never again lie to us about fundamental physics, lie to us about how reality works. We'll tear down the institutions that were built, that were set up to lie to us, to keep us enslaved, and we will ensure that the information is public for everyone to know how physics exists, how the universe works. Because fundamental physics cannot be classified, cannot be allowed to be hidden. Ooh, that felt good. That felt good, chat. And we're not going to change people's minds. We're not going to change their minds. That's the reality of it. What's going to happen is that they will be forced to accept reality as more and more of this technology is revealed by the Trump administration and future administrations, and we will be there to shove their faces in it. We will be there to shove their faces in the technology. We'll say, open your eyes, look at the technology, use your eyes and stare at it, accept it into your worldview. That's what we're going to do. change their minds. We're not going to change their minds. We're going to cause them to have a psychological meltdown. We're going to make them have a psychological break. That's what we're going to do. We're going to cause most people on this planet to have a psychological break, a crisis of faith. I'm going to make most people on this planet wonder whether or not they're a simulation, whether or not they are a literal NPC that was programmed into this world. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think a lot of them might be. Okay, guys, let's go to the super chats. That's good for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope you guys enjoyed the clips from our Black Project engineers explaining how this stuff works. All of this is the same exact physics that is used in the fusion reactors, that's used in the teleportation schemes that were used on MH370. There is one underlying answer to all of it. Thomas Townsend Brown, Tesla, Dirac-C, Schwinger effect, all of it. Pilled chat. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate y'all in the chat and everybody in the Rumble chat. I want to give you guys a shout out. Appreciate you guys. We've got a bunch of super chats tonight. XLX Squee says, "What's up, MH370? Submitted UHT EPR you on to the Willow." Awesome, man. Looking forward to seeing where that ends up. So basically, we've got people out there. By the way, you guys are doing an amazing job on social media. I just want to keep shouting it out because I see it. People posting scientific papers, people talking about scalar potentials, people talking about the Black Project engineers, all great stuff. Keep it up, guys. I love every bit of it. Oh, and I want to say that we are actually now, I think, building a literal community that in the future is going to rival some of the top physics communities that are out there. It's going to rival the entire UFO community if it doesn't already. So welcome to the team, guys. Welcome. Get on board. And you are going to know more about physics and science than some of the top PhDs in the world. And I'm also going to teach you all the ways to completely destroy them in any debate using basic, simple questions that they can't answer. Isn't that fun? I'm looking forward to it. XLX Squeeze says, "Told you Bible said voice of God, sound of creation." Those are what the sound waves he said in the video. Straight faith comes from axiom of physics. This also reminds me of the sound technology. What was that sound technology called? Plasmoids. The Navy has some crazy sound technology that they can beam into your ears as well. So the same physics of directed energy weapons, because people say the same thing about directed energy weapons. They say directed energy weapons aren't real because the energy falls off by the square of the distance or whatever it is, exponentially. So directed energy weapons can't work. Well, here's the answer for directed energy weapons as well. How do directed energy weapons work? Well, we can have action when there's no electromagnetic fields, just like Hal Puthoff said. Exact same physics. This is why Tom Bearden is the GOAT on scalar physics. It wasn't just this quantum sensing. Tom Bearden was talking about using this for directed energy weapons, making energy appear at a distance or making energy disappear and reappear over here. What we would think was teleportation. Thank you for those donos. Soul Jar. I don't know what that means. Anal lube. Anal lube. That's what I'm calling it. Thank you very much. Huge on us. Oh, huge on us. I love it. Carrie, Ethernet subscriber. Appreciate you to my Ethernet bros. So if I tap my chest with Morse code, the CIA can hear it. Guys, the CIA knows everything about you if they want to know about you. We're not going to dig deep into why this not the CIA might be tracking you, but they can if they want to. Absolutely. So there was another aspect I was going to bring up related to the tapping thing here. What was it? Maybe I'll remember it actually after this. Oh, the ether. We are calling it the ether, not necessarily because it's the same ether that was the fluid medium, but because it's the spiritual successor to that ether. This ether is the 0-point energy. This ether is not a fluid medium, but this ether does have electromagnetic fields. 0-point energy has electromagnetic fields. It's not nothing, but it's not physically visible to see. This is why we also call it an extra dimension. Because why do we even bother calling it an extra dimension? The reason why we call it an extra dimension is because it's not physically there. It's not something we can physically interact with easily, except for with things like the Casimir effect. And one more angle to this. This is something that I need to talk to like Tom Montauk or somebody about. But I'm starting to wonder if it's true that everything is simply information and holography, holograms are how we're being rendered in this reality, which is implied by the information of the black holes all being able to be fit on the surface of the black hole. Then perhaps expanding or contracting space, doing what we think we need to do to a wormhole, maybe that's just a matter of manipulating light waves. Maybe that's just a matter of manipulating waves in general. Maybe what we think of as space existing or not existing is just a matter of whether or not there's an electromagnetic wave there or not. And that electromagnetic wave determines the flow of time, the tick of time. And if that's the case, then creating a wormhole would just require a perfect understanding of electromagnetic waves and how to manipulate those electromagnetic waves and how to manipulate the electromagnetic waves of the vacuum itself, the 0 point energy of the vacuum itself. And if you could do that, then you could contract space or expand space at will wherever you want, in any dimension that you want, in any scale that you want. And that's exactly what I think they figured out. That's exactly what I think they're doing to MH370. Is they're contracting the space where they want the plane to go, which allows why they pinch on the plane to basically cause the plane to seemingly appear in a different location. But in reality, it's just the medium moving really quickly. So fast that it looks like teleportation to our eyes. Now, in the old days, primitives, even 100 years ago, even now, would have said that's impossible. That's magic. There's no way you can do that. But this is where science has been proven wrong throughout history. Every 25, 50 years, there's some idiot going, that's not possible. And then we prove that it is over and over and over again. That's how science advances. My channel. Consider entropy for donations. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Everything is really about entropy. Because if we're doing this quantum sensing, you could imagine just a valley of hills and divots. And we're looking at that, and we're able to determine information from that. We're able to read the ether. We're able to read the ether and go, there's a person there. There's a heartbeat over there. There's a squirrel over there. That is very powerful technology. And that's the kind of stuff that I've been assuming and saying that the United States military has, the CIA has. That seems like what they're revealing that we used on the pilot. Soul Jar Studios. Is this like an informational field that records every interaction at a quantum level? If you believe Charles Chase, then the answer is yes. His response to me in an email that I revealed last year was, I believe there is a sort of ether and that it has a memory. And what he's saying is it's not the ether of old, but there is some type of extra dimension, and that is somehow recording this everything that's happening. Everything that's happening is, in a sense, being recorded in that ether. And not only can you possibly detect where someone is, but if we believe what Navy engineer Salvatore Pais has been telling us on the Hard Truths podcasts, we might be able to detect everything that ever happened and everything that ever will happen. Mind blown. If it's true, this ether has a memory, not only can we figure out where anyone is, no matter how far away they are, no matter if they're behind walls or whatever, we can also potentially figure out wherever anyone was or people will be in the future as well. So that's the part where obviously we borderline on the esoteric, and I'm not sure if that's going to end up being true or not, but we should keep it in the back of our minds in terms of what they might be capable of. Trust, but verify. Jaleel Robinson, thank you for being around again, Jaleel Robinson. I appreciate all your donations. Awesome stream, 0 point energy disclosure. And this is why I've branded myself all over. This is why I branded 0 point energy disclosure. Because 0 point energy is the answer. If you go down to the core fundamental of what this is all about, it's all about that extra dimension. And how do we explain that extra dimension? If you just start talking about the ether, everyone's going to think you're crazy. So instead, we brand it as 0-point energy, which is the ether, but it sounds cooler, sounds hipper, sounds more 2021, right? 2025, 2026, whatever year we are, 21st century. This is also why I've been pushing for aneutronic fusion disclosure, because magnetic motors are for the 1970s. We're not going to run our houses off of magnetic motors. This isn't steampunk land anymore. We're going to run fucking fusion reactors with plasma in them at cold temperatures, and we're going to, or at low temperatures, and we're going to run everything off of that. That's why I talk about aneutronic fusion disclosure, because most likely we're going to find out that fusion reactors are producing excess anomalous energy coming from the 0-point energy. Just like Tom Bearden said, energy is neg entropy coming from the fifth dimension. Well, the fusion reactors are almost certainly tapping into that directly. And it's going to be very, very, very difficult for them to hide it. So what they're going to do is they're going to come out, record this, bookmark it, clip it. Fusion reactors are going to come online. First thing, they're not going to do aneutronic, probably because aneutronic will give the game away. But when they go aneutronic, and maybe even before that, their fusion reactors are going to be producing excess energy in the form of heat. And they're going to say, well, it's coming from they'll make up some shit. They'll be like, it's coming from the moon farts that are coming off Venus. It's just giving us extra energy. We don't know. Don't talk about it. That's what they're going to say. They'll make up some bullshit for it. Some reason. They'll be like, it's fine. It's total. They'll say it's totally explainable by classic physics, even though it's not. And you'll be like, okay, explain it. And they'll go, it's just the moon farts bouncing off of Venus. You don't know about that? God, you're dumb if you don't know about that. That's what they're going to say. Get ready for it. Timothy Foster. I will always pray for your ultimate success. And I rest of the Ambassador Orbeez. Wow, thank you very much. I hope we can stay in contact if you take a new job. I don't plan on quitting my job. I'm actually shocked that I still have my job. And I'm shocked that I've been able to do this while I've been doing my normal job. And I might be dunking on something here in a minute. So there's a very real possibility that I do something in my job that basically very few people on planet Earth have been able to pull off. Not build UFOs or anything like that, just normal healthcare shit. And simultaneously revealing scalar physics, gravity manipulation, wormholes, fusion, all at the same time. That would be pretty dope. And I have never sold anything other than attempting to sell a magnetic motor one time and a few t-shirts that weren't even me. So I haven't even put a book out there. Most people have like 10 books, shit that they're trying to sell, whatever. Nothing. So, okay. Jay Beach loves. Oh, nice. You'll change your name. I love it. There's 400 of you in the chat who have not hit. If you have not hit the like chat, what is wrong with you? Do you want 0-point energy disclosure or not? We have to shame you people. If you did not hit the like, if you did not tell people about 0-point energy, tell them about the Aharonov-Bohm effect now that you're all physics experts. If you don't go and confront your nearest PhD physicist, if you are in UC Irvine, ooh, look at that shout out, specific shout out. If I'm talking to you right now in UC Irvine, you have a need, you have an obligation to go to Professor Daniel Whiteson's physics class, and you need to go and you need to stand up and you need to ask him. You need to say, Ashton Forbes wants you to explain how quantum entanglement works. Chat, if you do this and you record it, I will 100%, I promise you, I will post the interaction on my social media. I will upload the interaction in my YouTube video. This is an absolute promise. Absolute promise from Ashton Forbes. Find Daniel Whiteson. Ask that professor, how does quantum entanglement work? We're going to take them down, chat. Darth Forbes, he's hungry. He's hungry, chat. He wants some PhDs. He wants to collect them. Like those lightsabers. Nom, 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 nom. Delicious cookie. There you go, Jay Beach. That was for you. I appreciate you, man. Scott Rowe, check out Joseph Weber, famous for gravitational wave detectors. Reported experimental results claiming that low-energy neutrinos could undergo coherent scattering off of nearly perfect crystals. I will check into that. There's another guy that's very well known for gravitational detectors named Bob Baker. And Bob Baker got written up by the CIA and the Jasons because he was telling a little too much about gravitational detection to the Chinese. We're not going to go into that tonight, but absolutely, gravitational wave detectors, you'll notice a perfect overlap between these quantum sensors. So you should ask yourself, how come the quantum sensors are literally the same devices we're using for gravitational wave detectors? Any thoughts out there? Any physicists want to answer that question? Why do we use the same devices for gravity wave detectors that we use for quantum sensors? Anyway, I'll leave you guys on that thought for tonight. Okay, MH370X, I love you. I'm losing my voice. We'll be back for our final stream on Friday. Final stream forever. No, just kidding. We're taking a week off next week. I've got work stuff I've got to do. I'd love to stream, but I can't. Maybe we'll do another live stream on next weekend. But Friday stream and then a week off. Vacation for Ashton. Love you, MH370X. Have a great night. Peace out, everybody. Later.
Infrared eyes, scanning the black, tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As Bearden, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As Bearden, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. Controls in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As Bearden, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. As Bearden, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared